Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to write a two-part counterpoint. This example is taken from the textbook, page 183, self-test 11-3, and this is the second problem at the bottom of the page. So here you don't have the bass or the soprano, and your objective is to write both of these, starting with the bass, ending with a PAC. Now the first thing I would do is determine what needs to be in first inversion or root position. So root position chords must be placed at the beginning and the end. And also in the middle of this you see a 5-1. So this 5-1, one of these needs to be inverted, because you don't want to have a root position 5-1 in the middle of the phrase. We're going to assume that the phrase goes like this from here to the end. So one needs to be inverted to weaken that so it doesn't sound like an ending in the middle of the phrase. Also, we need to invert this diminished chord to avoid having a augmented fourth or diminished fifth above the bass. Okay, and since this is going to be a PAC, we also need this to be in root position, because PACs are in root position. So this is what we need to have for sure. I'll start then by putting in the analysis so we know what notes we have that we're working with. So F minor, 6 in F minor is D flat, 2, G diminished, and this is inverted, so it's going to be G diminished over B flat, C, F minor, C, F minor, and then B flat minor. Notice that all of my chord symbols have the roots uppercase, and then if it's something other than a major triad, I have to add either an M for minor or a diminished. I have to put some kind of qualitative description after, and also slash for inverted chords. Alright, now I'll begin. I'm going to just put the bass in a nice range. Remember, the range for the bass is from this about this low E up to middle C. So don't go outside of that range for the bass. The line below and the ledger line below, the ledger line above. Okay, this looks like it could be root position D flat. Okay, let's take a look at this. Okay, what you could do, and actually I'm not writing these should all be written as half notes. What you could do is you could just try writing them the way they are now and then maybe refine it a little bit. So I have not done this problem in advance, so if I have something goes wrong, I'll just have to fix it. And you may have to revise, that's kind of normal. Okay, so what are some things that you should look for when composing this bass line? Well, take a look at pages 172 in your textbook to 175. A lot of these rules apply to melodies in general. So things like having a nice contour, having one focal point, changing direction after a leap bigger than a fourth. We've heard all of these things back when we wrote melodies, and it applies as well to this. Some things you may want to also keep in mind is not repeating the notes over the bar line. Don't repeat more than one note. I have asterisks on certain things, like on page 172 I put a little star next to 4, beginning and ending, because you need to know how to start and end it. I put a little star by on page 173 by number 2 in determining the chords that must be used in inversions, also on repeated bass notes. But go through this and review it. The other thing that we don't really talk about back when we talked about melody writing is tonal variety. If you see that you have a lot of certain notes, you might try inverting to get more variety of pitches. So like as I glance through this, I have a couple B flats, I have a couple of C's, I have 3 Fs. Okay, so let's decide first of all what I'm going to invert in that red box. So I didn't invert either of these. So I can have an A on the second note. That could make a nice low focal point, for example. Or I can invert the C. So right now I'm looking at these 2 notes here. So if I invert the first one, I'll have an E flat. And if I invert the second one, I'll have an A. Now, you could sing through this, or you could play it on the piano, or on whatever instrument, bass instrument you have available. Let me just play through it really quickly so you can hear the difference. Alright, I'm going to invert first C, C over E flat. Okay, well, right away I notice a problem. If I invert the C to E flat, we have no focal point because we have 2 Fs, the high F, and I could go down to the low one, that might be a good idea. And I have B flat on the bottom, so I would have to change something if I decided to invert the C. How about the F? Well, say I invert the F and make that the low focal point, the A flat. That's kind of melodic, especially that last little part. You see how nice steps sound there. Okay, we're not going to invert both. That, I think, well, let me see. I don't know if that would work or not. We would have 3 first inversion chords in a row. I don't recommend that. Most of your chords should remain in root position. So, the other possibility would be to drop the 1 chord down to the low F. This one, that's really nice. As long as your choir can sing that note, it's the second to the lowest note, but we're still within an octave. So let's see what that sounds like. Oh, we have a little bit of a problem because I can't go up. That's a 7th. I would have to go to the low E flat. Alright, I'm going to try it anyway. So I'm going to go low E flat, then low F, and then low E flat will be the focal point. That's a little bit of a problem because now I have a range of a 9th and I'm outlining not a triad in the first 4 leaps. So it looks like for now the easiest option is to invert the second chord. I'm going to make this, I'm going to make this one F over A flat. And, okay, so let's just make all these changes here. This one I decided to invert, and I'm going to put this, instead of having the F there, I'm going to put this here. But now we have a focal point. We have more variety of pitches because I'm not repeating that F 3 times. And this is going to be my solution for now. So here's my bass line. Okay, now I'm going to try to write the upper part. So when it comes to counterpoint, in your textbook, and I have my textbook open in front of me, so you may hear the pages turning as we're going, you have to review all these things. I'm not going to read them to you. It starts on page 176, and then they give you a bunch of examples to illustrate all of these things on page 176 and 177. However, let me guide you just a little bit, because again, some of these rules you've heard before from melodic writing. But look at the bottom of page 176. Again, they stress in number 2 the variety of pitches. Try not to repeat a bunch of notes or a note several times. Don't repeat over a bar line. What happens when you repeat over the bar line is it kind of obscures the rhythm of the tune. It distorts the meter. Okay, and sometimes you don't hear the change when you repeat a note, especially in choirs. Don't let the melody go too much in one direction. So this is number 2, 3, and 4. On the next page, take a look at the kind of minor they ask you to use. Look at number 8. Use melodic minor when you're writing. So be careful not that you don't go lay, ti, flat 6 to raise 7, because if you do that, you're going to have that augmented 7th. So make sure you use melodic minor. It could be, you can kind of fudge whether you're with the direction, but that you only use half steps and whole steps. This might change the quality of some chords. For example, let's suppose you're using melodic minor ascending and you're using the 4 chord. Well, you might end up with a major 4 chord. Okay, so you might end up with some strange chords in your harmonization, but if the harmony changes, so be it. Okay, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, I think we should give this a shot now. The other main thing to keep in mind, if you turn to page 180 and 181, of course you want to use chord tones. You don't want to use perfect octaves in the middle. You can use fifths. The other thing you want to use is thirds, unisons, and sixths. Do not use 2, 4, or 7 above the bass. These are dissonant intervals. In our framework, we want to begin with a consonant framework, then we could add non-chord tones. Okay, so here we go. A lot to think about. In this first chord, in this first measure, okay, I am just going to put an F to start out with, but actually, maybe I lied. Okay, you could use, if you want to see how to begin, if you look on page 180, number 1, I could start with any part of this chord, root 3rd or 5th. The root looks a little bit low, so if I put it here, I would have, oh, maybe this is okay, because the first thing the bass does is go down. Okay, let's try this. Then I have a D flat. I can't repeat over the bar line, so it looks like I need to go to 8. Now, guys, I'm just doing this in order. Oh, wait, I'm going to a 5th. Not good. So, right away, that's a 5th above the bass. Not the best. I could go to D flat. That would be pure. Okay, change my mind on this. Because it looks like the second note might end up being a D flat, maybe it would be better if I started out like this. Whoops, like this. Okay, because then I start with a step. It's a little bit high, but let's see where this takes us. All right. That's an octave. Not loving this already. Okay. Okay, by the way, when a chord is in first inversion, you don't want to double it. Of course, that would be an octave again. You don't want... All right. Well, I don't like this because I went straight... We don't want to go to an octave. All right. So, let's try this. All right, A, I'm going to go F, and then maybe, I suppose I can go down to a G, and then maybe C. Oh, I can't go to C. All right, this is quite low for the soprano. I would like to get it up a little bit higher because obviously this is, you know, I want to have a focal point. I can't go any lower. How about going, I guess I could step up to F. And again, this is just a draft. So if it doesn't work out the first time, I might revise it. Oh my gosh, the soprano is going super low. I kind of worked myself into a corner here because I cannot go up to B flat over the bar line because that would be a hidden octave. I can't stay on the F because that would be the same note over the bar line. I have to go to this D flat. Yuck. Okay, sometimes it happens, all right, and then, so I'm looking at where I'm headed. Okay. This one here, of course, this is the leading tone. So it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do this unless I raise up that D flat to D natural. So this is what I was talking about here, this melodic minor. If I want to use that E natural there, I have to put a D natural there. I really don't like the way this is looking, but without going back and changing a whole bunch of things, this is what it looks like so far. Not really pleased with this. Okay. Alright, but you kind of see the idea. Now, I'm going to just, when you write your two-part counterpoint, you don't have to do this in the homework, but you could do it on a piece of paper on the side. Remember that you have to label the intervals between the two voices. And this really is helpful. This is super helpful because it determines if you've actually gone about this the right way. So it will also immediately show you if you have any problems in your counterpoint. Okay, so here it is. Now you notice I have 1-5 in the middle of the phrase. You don't want to have a bunch of those. You don't want to have any 3s or 6s where you have more than 3 in a row. So it kind of looks semi-okay if I've read this correctly. I'm going to play it for you. I don't see any bad leaps. It's mostly stepwise. What else can I say about this? It's in the range of the soprano. In fact, it's super easy to sing. It's quite low. I don't have any bad parallels with the bass. There are a lot of things to check, and well, I'm going to play it. Let's see how it sounds. Crossing my fingers here. I do notice that this... Oh no, I think it's okay. Okay, so we're in the key of F minor. Okay, crossing my fingers because... Yeah, it might be better to leap down at the end. Okay, but this is okay. Okay, you notice here that I put a D natural, so, and you probably heard it too, I need to change the quality of this, right? So now this is major. It's no longer, because I changed it to melodic minor. There it is. That's what I was talking about in terms of changing the quality. Okay, that's it for now. I hope this helps you with your review and gives you an example of some things to think about when you're writing two-part counterpoint.